You tell me that. Have a seat. Have a seat. Thank you for attending our regular scheduled board meeting. This meeting is called to order at 6 o'clock p.m. Did someone say they can't hear? You can't hear? I can talk louder. Can I have roll? I'm sorry. Can I have roll call vote? Attendance.
Davis.
Here.
Piles present. Kennard. Laster.
Present.
McCarthy.
Present.
Wester.
Excused.
Evans. We have quorum.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next, we have the acceptance of the agenda. Be it resolved that the Board of Education accepts the March 11, 2024 meeting agenda as presented.
Support.
Motion by McCarthy, supported by Treasurer Davis.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries.
Next up, public comment.
Does anybody else have a form? Seeing none, Rita Hampton.
Good afternoon. I don't have very much to say. As you noticed, things are bothering me. Sometimes when you get my age, you can't sleep very well. You get up in the morning, you go to Tim Hortons down on Middle Belt and Ecorse, and I'm tired of seeing all those buses from Melvindale and River Rouge and Garden City and Summit coming into our district, picking up our kids that belong here at our school. And I'm saying they're taking our best and they're taking our brightest. So I just want to say that to you. It's coming, and I don't know what to do. We got to get better, and we will be better. I'm consciously going around in people on my block and on the next block asking, do you want to run for school board? We got 3 openings. We're looking for people with integrity. We're looking for people with honesty. And so I look at the person, I know somebody, then I look at them like Cain or like. If they tell lies and do unsavory things, then they know those type of people. So think about that. Honesty, integrity, and certainly attend meetings, board meetings. Be conscientious about attending board meetings consistently. Thank you.
Next on the agenda, a presentation from Mark Graham.
I guess I'll take the opportunity to introduce Mark Graham. You were probably waiting for something grander than this. Okay, I'm just assuming. Mark Graham we contract with Mark Graham, but he does all of our grants. I will absolutely put a plug in for him. I think he's one of the best hires that I didn't do. I certainly didn't do it. I walked into it. But he is wonderful. He knows his stuff, and I thought that would be a good idea to have him speak to you and you as the board and be able to ask him questions, because there's questions about ESSER often and some of the other grants. So I wanted him to give us 10 to 15 minutes max to be able to present to you some of the things that he does for us and what things are looking like currently and as well as the future. So everyone, Mark Graham.
Good afternoon. No, good evening. Trying to figure out their sun out. I don't know, am I not talking close enough? Oh, okay. Take it with me. Take it with me. Good evening. I'm going to present some grant information. I can put it up on the screen, but the board currently has it in front of them. They should have two printouts. One is for the FY24 school year, which is the current school year. And if you look at the report, it just basically goes over what we have as grants. Like if you'll see over the top, you'll see the grant type, grant allocation, if it's a federal, state grant, what it could be used for, how we're, if it has some, how directly it affects the general fund. Grant number, where we are today was spent in encumbered comparing the ending one would be the remaining allocation. So the big one on here is ESSER 3. So ESSER 3 will be going away hopefully by June 30th this year. It'll be fully spent. That's the goal. If you guys have any questions or concerns, hey, Adam, can you get it up? Okay. We weren't sure if anyone wanted to read it. Yeah. So this is how grants work. Most grants are either federally, state, or local funded. Majority of ours right now are federally funded because ESSER is the large piece of it. Normally, our state grants are a bigger funding source than our federal grants, but because of COVID, that was flipped for the last few years. A lot of these grants are academic based or mental health based or special ed based. A lot of them focus on personnel positions that we fund through them. A good example is IDA. IDA funds a lot of our resource room teachers, and that's part of financial strategy because it gives us the best results and increases our fund balance because we can use money other places to get other funding sources. Another good example of this is our 21H grants that we received. They gave us a boost up with the community liaisons who have helped our attendance with our students, and then having more students attend more helps us on the bottom line overall. So these grants all should have positive effects on the district. Any questions so far?
I have a question. It's not on this list, but what will you be working with our food service company to, since we are a CEP district, to provide the summer meal program for children 18 and under through the summer?
We will be doing our summer food service program for our school district, but we will not be doing the outside community because that's what United Way does, and they can start a lot earlier than us. United Way can start in May with the summer food program service for the community, where we would have to wait till June, what are we on, 15th this year? June 15th. It also affects our bottom line on our food service financials. So we actually will lose money and we have to open our buildings up to the general public starting if we started that service.
So United Way has never provided food to children. And I know that the summer food program, the Meet Up and Eat Up, is for students 18 and under, and that comes from a different source of funding than our breakfast and lunch meal program. That's the meal program, but the summer program is CACFP, which is a different source of funding. And it will feed, like I said, it will feed anyone who is 18 and younger, even those who aren't just attending our summer school program.
So our summer food service program is called Summer Food Service Program. It's the actual program, has its own CFDA number. That's what's fully funded as of June 15th. Meet Up and Greet Up, it's done by United Way Southeastern Michigan. I can see, I'll look at the site right now.
You're saying Meet Up and Eat Up is done by United Way?
I just pulled up their website.
That's the one where we open up buildings.
You know, they put sites in neighborhoods, they have map search here.
Right. And that program has been around, and we can open up however many buildings we choose to provide on-site lunches for children in our community.
But we're only allowed to do one food service program.
So I guess my question would be then, if we only do summer, that's one food service program. If we do the CACFP, which is the Meet Up and Eat Up, we can feed all of our students in any building, which would include summer school students, plus those who don't attend. Where if we do the one you're speaking of, we can only feed students who are in the summer school program on days when they attend. But the other feeds them at every location that we have summer school, and also allows at other locations for students to come in and eat.
I would actually have to get clarification from the state, because talking to the state last year, we discussed this. And they said CACFP was not allowed to be used for summer food service.
Okay, so Dr.
this-
Edmondson, will you look into that? And I can forward information as well, so that we can, because it's something that we always had prior to COVID, and it's something that we can have now. And I can get finances on that too. And then my other question is for the PEBT for our students, because we are a CEP district. When will we be applying for the summer EBT cards for our students?
That one I'm gonna have to look into more, because I haven't really dealt with CEBT.
Usually comes out of special services with Dr. Meese. In the past, at least when I was here before it came out of,
He was the one that worked on, okay,
I've been ensuring that parents got that, parents and families got that 3 years ago,
okay.
and I remember. So if it comes back again, that's
And it was back last summer, yep. And then the flyers up.
given last year?
Yep, it was. And the flyers are already out, but so we have the direct search, but because all of our students, we are a CEP district, we apply for that on behalf of our students as opposed to our families having to apply.
I do remember that, but
Yeah.
I didn't know last year. I
So-
don't recall it last year.
Yep, it is, but yes, it is out this year. I don't know what the deadlines are.
I only know this because I ran that. They'll reach out to Dr. Neese and let him know what documents we need to give them. So if he hasn't gotten, he's our
Yes, he's the guy.
Great. So we will be doing that then, correct?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
I expected that.
Great.
Any other questions, board?
Madam Vice President, I thought I heard you say that a part of the grants here, ESSA 3, where I'm looking at it, where we had an amount of $7 million, and that's federal fund, and we have expended about $5 million, and we have a balance of 2, and it ends in September 24. Is that correct?
September 2024, all funding
Yeah,
has to be.
24. Okay, so my question would be, I thought I heard you say that it impacts the general fund based on the fact that there were some salaries.
Yes,
So-
go ahead, sorry.
So it's impacting salaries that eventually the general fund would have to, what's the plan? I mean, what do you have to say in terms of if you have ESSER funds that are in federal funds, general fund, you have salaries, are these, where the funding is going to be to make that? You probably don't know the answer. If you do, fine. We probably have to look at that at the Finance Committee, but I just wanted to make sure I understood that $2 million, and is that going to carry us through, it says September, it has to be expended by the deadline 9/30. So is that going to carry us to 24, 25, or what is?
So the plan with the staffing that's currently in there. So the staff, we moved staff into ESSER from the general fund. So the funding in the general fund never moved. So these positions that, in theory, you'd have 8 open positions in the general fund, we moved them into ESSER and we left them open. So the fund money that's not spent, that was moved to ESSER will eventually, at the end of the year, roll into fund balance.
So you're saying you're gonna roll the balance of the ESSER funds into general fund? Is that what I
In
hear you
theory,
saying?
yes, that's the theory. It's allowable cost.
I'm sorry, we say that again?
So-
We're rolling whatever's left in ESSER into general fund?
No, so we moved general fund costs into ESSER.
Right,
And the general fund will not have those costs, so the
Right.
budget's there. So the excess budget will roll into the fund balance.
So there's a cost savings in the general fund because they're over in ESSER.
It's coming.
Okay. What's that?
Oh, he'll have to give you, we talked about this today.
Oh, you
so,
did? Well,
yes. And
okay, well,
Dr.
then we in
Gistinger, and
sync.
Dr. Gistinger, and the cabinet, we were all there.
spent by
So,
Okay, so there's a salary, technically, there's a salary savings because those monies are not being used in the general fund, and their board is in the ESSER funds, and they're utilizing all those funds. Okay, so actually, in salaries, when you have that category of, say your budget is whatever the millions are, it's compounding, and so actually, it's just sitting there and growing, if it had interest on it or whatever, but we're not interest, so it's just sitting there, so you have a surplus. Okay,
Correct.
thank you.
Any other questions? Any other questions?
Yeah, I got a question. Third from the bottom, there's a grant here that just says 97, has an amount next to it, but the rest of it is blank. Could you explain what that one is?
So 97 was a grant from last year that we didn't fully utilize for security. So I probably should have put security. Right this year, currently, they rolled it into a grant called 31AA, so that would be the grant above it for this year. So it involves security. It lets us buy the coverings for the glass. We can buy metal detectors. We can buy security, basically whatever makes the building secure. So the $20,000 is the remaining allocation from that, our spending throughout the year. That's basically what it is. It's security. It's to buy security features for the buildings.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Vice, go ahead. I yield to you.
I was just gonna say, do we have any of the grants listed here that are like, if we don't use it, we lose it? And do we have our eye on those, if it's any coming?
Yes, we watch them all like a hawk.
Well, I mean, besides, like, I know that one is the big one that
Yeah,
everybody's
like,
saying is gonna go away.
An example is with Title I, you have to spend a minimum of 85% of your of your original allocation to get carryover funds. So we're making sure we're spending our 85%. We're hoping to be at 95% this year.
Thank you.
Madam Vice, and my question was similar to what trustee
Last year.
Lasser. And what I was thinking was that, so you, in a fiscal year, there's percentage quartils, and so
Yep.
you got 4 quarters, and so we're in, what, the third quarter now? So
Depends on the grant. It could be
depends on the
second
grant
or
because of the cycle
second or
year,
fourth,
the
yeah.
second or fourth, depending on that. And so, do you have any type of reportings where you could tell us what percentile you are with that particular grant or with the ending year? Say, for instance, if we're in the third quarter on something, how much we've expended of that and what's left? So that by the time you're reaching that, you're using and monitoring and knowing where you are, because we don't want to give money back.
Yep. And
Okay, and I'm not asking you for anything. We don't want to miss the target where funding is sitting there and we're having to return it back to the state or to the
we're
federal.
making sure we get every dollar out.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Any other questions?
you remember what I said this morning, right?
Yes.
Okay.
You want to share?
Oh, no, I don't want to share. That's what I said.
What did he say?
Able to anticipate the questions that are going to come.
Well, you taught him very well.
I'll say about that. I don't know. I have to tell them later about that one.
Yep. We also have a second document what we're projecting next year. So if you look, our grant funds have dropped dramatically. For primary reason is ESSER's gone. So this will be more of a realistic grant budget going forward.
Okay.
So I will add a little bit here without saying too much, but and I'm going to try to stay in my lane. So Maria and Mark, if I veer out and there's a truck coming, veer me back in, please. I'm just saying. But we've worked on, as a cabinet, we've worked, I'd say voraciously the last month, everybody together, including Mark and Maria, all in the same room budgeting, looking at our budget for next year. We all know that ESSER was going to go away, and it goes away. But we've planned for that, and I'm very excited to be able to share, not necessarily right now, but I'll be able to share that I'm excited because I know we have a balanced budget for next year. I already know it. Without sharing it, I already know it because we worked hard, and that's to my cabinet. I want to thank all of you and for Maria and getting us in that room early to get that started. So I'm very excited when we're at Dr. Gistinger's direction. We will come to the board, I think actually sooner than later, to go over next year's fiscal budget. So I'm very excited, even knowing that ESSER's gone, and I want to thank the entire cabinet and our principals here in spending wisely and making certain that we provided students the best that we could given what we had. So hopefully things will be even better next year. And let's not always assume that less money means less everything else. It does not. Okay, so I'm very excited about the work that we have done as a cabinet, putting us there and making certain that these numbers are accurate. So thank you. Veering back into my lane now.
Thank you, Mr. Graham. Next on the agenda, Hell Creek Elementary presentation, Chris Parker.
Man,
Let's
what
hope
was
I don't get
that?
all these questions.
Hope I get
all
one of
right? We
those.
don't-
I'm gonna wait.
We don't want all these questions, all right? Okay, so, good evening, board. I am Christopher Parker. I currently serve as the lead learner at Hell Creek Elementary School. Thank you for inviting me this evening, and I will just share, just a few brief highlights about our school. So as you can see, our staff, I'm going to talk a little bit more about the staff when we get to that portion, but it is a very strong staff. I feel, every day that I go into that building, it is a pleasure to work with these people. As you can see, the happy, shining faces, but I'll talk more about them when we get to that portion. Okay, so real quickly, where are we going tonight? So basically 3 points that I'm going to hit. We're going to talk a little bit about our data. I put satellite data on there for a reason, and I'll talk briefly about the reason I call it satellite data. We're going to talk about our focus in the building. I'm trying to sort of pattern it after my colleagues. I wanted them all to sort of be the same things that we talked about. So our focus is critical questions number 3 and number 4, so we'll talk briefly about that. And then finally, I'll talk a little bit about our learning community. Okay, so first to look at the data, just wanted to give you guys a quick overview. When I say satellite data, you're about to see data really quickly. I'm not going to present a lot of it. You watched the presentation a couple of weeks ago that basically dug through all of the data that we have to present with regard to academic data. When I say street data, looking at things, you guys are going to see satellite data. That's the big stuff that we're going to talk about. Then we talk about map data. So that is the data that we use that is more formative. We use that data like grades, NWEA, so on and so forth. But then when we get down to street data, that's the fine granular things. That's when we actually start talking to people. That's when we really, if we want to bring more equity, if we want to bring change, I think looking at the ideal of this street data has definitely some promise for what we do at Hale Creek Elementary School. So real quickly, as you can see, our accountability index, I was pleased when I saw, since I've been there, not since I've been there, I don't have a little bit to do with me, but it's not just me, but we have been sort of climbing in that overall index. So I call it the gentleman's C. Okay, we set 69.96% as far as the school of the state accountability. I'm very proud of the growth that we are displaying with our kids, the 98.50. Thank you to Ms. Carter, that assessment participation index, 100%. She makes sure that all those kids are going to take that M-STEP test. So that's a piece of satellite data. But again, that does not tell the story of Hale Creek Elementary School. So really quick, M-STEP, as you can see, we've been kind of making, after the pandemic, we've been making small incremental changes. Hopefully this year, it goes up a little bit more based on what we do day to day, the formative things that we do day to day. Hopefully that data will, that number will, will continue to trend upward. You all right, Doc? All right. Same thing with math. Slow, steady wins the race. We're going up just a little bit. Then with reading, so this is, again, getting closer. This is like MAP data. This is NWEA reading data. So from the fall to winter, we saw a bit of, a bit of an uptick with our kids as far as the kids that hit their growth. That's not proficiency. Those are the students that hit their growth goal. We're very proud of math this year. Our focus has been on math. Mr. Grange is excellent. Anybody that knows him, he is a wonderful teacher. Same thing with Ms. Carter. So we're going to talk a little bit about critical questions 2 and 3. Really critical questions 3 and 4. So we've been working very hard with a school-wide focus on math. So we're really pleased with what we've done thus far with students meeting their growth target for math. So no presentation would be complete without some PBIS data. So I've got for you guys a little bit of PBIS data. It's elementary school, so you could see as far as like suspensions, 14 suspensions is not 14 different kids. A lot of times when we do suspensions, it'll be one kid maybe suspended 2 or 3 times, and then that number will reflect. It's a lot different than what I'm used to in my middle school and secondary days. So 14 kids or 10 kids or 10 suspensions in a month. It's an elementary school. So we sometimes children need a bit of time off. We try not to. We'll talk about that in a moment, but it is what it is. Attendance, we're very proud of our attendance. We have a 90% average attendance rate, thanks to our number one, again, to Ms. Carter and what she does with our attendance incentive. I added here that we actually got a bit of a shout out in the TLP newsletter with what we were doing with Hell Creek. So as you can see, pictures of children. We do as sort of a class contest, if you will. The class that has the highest rate of attendance, those children receive coins from the book vending machine, and the kids get books. So as you can see, so far we've had like the 4th grade one time, kindergartners have won. So it's been distributed throughout the school as to who is winning, but we continue to do that. And as I said, we are enjoying about a 90% average attendance rate. So when I talk about street data, in the beginning of the year, I met with staff, and I had gone to a training with the TLP team, and I ran into this ideal of street data. So I kind of read the book over the summer, and I asked staff, I came back and I asked the staff just to kind of get their perspectives, get their opinions on some things, and I asked them, what's one thing, one highlight that you like about working at this school? What's one thing that you can highlight? And then I told them if there was a magic wand that they could wave in order to increase, equity, to increase proficiency at our school, what would you do? So I'm not going to read all these to you, but something that so as far as what the staff said that they enjoyed was the collegial experience, people working together, people helping one another. So that was something that came out of that. And then with our, if you could wave a magic wand, a theme that definitely surfaced was increasing equity, making sure that every kid got what they needed from the school. So I thought that was very powerful. So we take that information, and then the next one, the kids. So in talking to the kids is a different experience with elementary school students, but you ask them kind of the same thing. Hey, what is it that you like about school? They do say reading and math a lot. Kids say that I like reading, I like math, so that's a good thing. They say they like to learn. And then a theme that sort of emerged from talking to them was that they wanted, like the first one, more help for kids who struggle. Okay, so kids will say, I want, everybody to be able to do well. And then their colleagues or their fellow classmates and their behaviors like card flips and people being nice to one another and that kind of thing. So again, themes that we have though that come from this is, again, making sure that every child gets what he or she needs from school. So based on that, last year when I got there, our focus has been at the school, it's critical questions number 3 and number 4. And those questions basically are, what do we do? So the 4 PLC questions, what do we want children to learn? Number 2, how are we going to know that they've learned it? And then 3 or 4, what do we do for the students who have not learned it? And what do we do for the students who have learned it? So last year, when I got to the school, we started working on those questions. We started working on, so what we have thus far, right? Okay, so the basic RTI that happens, the basic things that happen in our school. So Tier 1 curriculum, we have our reading curriculum, we have our math curriculum, and then we supplement that, supplement that with Happy Numbers, which is our math curriculum, and then IXL. What we're working on, that critical question number 2, then going into 3, is that formative assessment. So how do we know that the children are mastering the standards that we want them to master? And then what are we going to, so we got the formative assessments, we have our common assessments, we use our Happy Numbers data, we use our IXL data, then we've got our NWEA data. So we go from the least summative and the more formative going up to more summative type things. So our M-STEP, which is our, they call it the autopsy, that's our most summative, but as we're going down the line, these are the things that we're looking at for assessment. So what we're doing at Hale Creek Elementary, our focus has been on intervention, or really Tier 2 intervention. So looking at that MAP data, that second level, and then identifying children who need, more assistance, and then those children are receiving assistance in reading. There's Ms. Carter, who is working with the children on reading. There's Mr. Grange, who's working with the children on math. And then we have our building subs. When they're not in classrooms, another good thing about the staff, they come to work. Pretty much people are there like just about every day. So we can use our building subs, and they are also working with kids using Tier 2 interventions. So here we have EduClimber data. This is an idea from Scott. So Scott was like, hey, you guys are doing really well with EduClimber. Again, I keep mentioning Ms. Carter, one of the backbone of the school almost. And they almost, we got a lot of people to work together. A lot of people. It's not just one person. It's never one person. It's a team. It's a team. So, but Ms. Carter and Mr. Grange, the reason I mentioned them is that they did come in over the summer and they got that EduClimber training. So they were there, and we hit the ground running at the beginning of the school year with that EduClimber. And what EduClimber does is it tracks those interventions that we have been using at the school. So as you can see, 348 total plans, that's 348 children that are receiving interventions. And they receive those interventions, like 41.5% of the population. So if we think about that RTI pyramid, so the kids that are at the Tier 2, about 41.5% are getting an intervention. There are 5 strategies, 3 interventionists. Actually, there's 2. That third one, I can't remember what Scott said. I think there's something about Dave Pelk figuring into this somehow. I don't know how, but that's the third person, and then that's our school. The 80.49% participation, that's where we need some work with regard to attendance. So some of the, the kids that, if they're not there, they're not receiving the intervention. So that's why that doesn't say 100%. It's at 80.49. So we're continuing to work on that attendance. So last but not least, we'll talk about our learning community at Hale Creek Elementary. Dr. Edmondson, when he first joined Romulus Community Schools, I was watching the interview, and one of the things that he brought to us, and as administrators he brought this to us, it was the 7 correlates of effective schools. And those of you that were around, you will remember him talking about that. So when I first started doing this presentation, I was like, well, wow, what is it that I want to talk about? I don't have time to talk about all 7, but we can find pieces of all 7 at Hale Creek Elementary School. What I want to focus on is our environment, that number 6, which is a safe and orderly environment. So our environment, how we do things at Hale Creek Elementary School. You see Ms. Slack there, she is the face of the building. So when people walk into the school, we want a certain feeling when we walk into the school. We want it to feel safe. We want it to feel welcoming. We want it to be comfortable when kids come into the school. 3 things that we do in order to work on that environment is we expect respect, we focus on academic achievement, and then we try to cultivate a sense of belonging or community in the school. So in expecting respect, we have a robust PBIS system. I'm gonna give another shout out to Ms. Carter who keeps this going. If she wasn't there, I'm not playing. PBIS would not be functioning the way that it functions at Hale Creek without her. It was already functioning when I got there, and it continues to function right now. In addition to Tier 1 instruction, okay, so in the beginning of the school year, we teach the behaviors. We don't expect, particularly kindergartners, to come into a school behaving in the manner in which we want them to behave. So we teach those expectations at Tier 1. Hale Creek has a very robust 4-to-1 concept going on, meaning 4 positives for every negative, and that 4-to-1 is the hawk hugs. So you can see kids right there holding those blue cards. We call them hawk hugs. So kids will come from all kinds of places in the school and they get these hawk hugs, and they really love getting the hawk hugs. It is something, it's being recognized for something positive that they have done in the school. That hawk hug goes into that little bin you see there, top left, and then they get prizes. So there's a school store and the kids get prizes. They just love this hawk hug thing. Our Tier 2 interventions, we are blessed to have a school social worker for the students that need Tier 2. We have check-in, check-out, and we now have social skills groups that are running. So PBIS at Hale Creek Elementary is going strong. In addition, we try to have a restorative culture at the school. That really comes, I'm the person that sort of drives that. For restorative practices to work, it has to be like something that is bought into by the entire community. 2 kids get into a fight, the default is kick them out, suspend them. We try to be restorative. We have restorative circles. I have intrinsic motivation here. I try my hardest while I am in these children's lives to make them want to be in school, to make them intrinsically motivated to be in school each and every day. So that's why I've got more than carrots and sticks. So it's got to come from within. It's not something that I'm going to beat you. I'm not going to scare you into being good, and I don't want to necessarily incentivize you too much, right, into doing the right thing. We want it to come from within. So that's what we work on. We have an apology protocol. We also have some mentoring groups that are working. I have a group of young men that I work with in the evenings. There's an exercise group that meets in the morning times. So we try to, again, have a restorative culture. And then finally, the supportive climate. I talked about the staff earlier. This is where I want to mention them again. There is a really nice sense of collective efficacy at Hale Creek Elementary School. The staff is confident. I mean, I think the average time that they've been working in Romulus is like 10 years or so. So the staff is seasoned, and there's a great sense of efficacy that they can do the job, what it is that we've asked them to do. So they're really good at what they do. And then again, we provide a physically safe and emotionally supportive environment. So we want everyone to feel like they're seen, valued, and heard. There's a focus on academic achievement. If you come into our school, you might see Mr. Grange with his math group, and they are marching down the hallway, and they might be skip counting by 5s. They might be doing anything like that. So we try to make sure, so there is a constant academic focus. Ms. Carter and her SIPS groups, I am consistently visiting those groups. Wonderful as those children are acquiring literacy. It's really a great thing to see. We are using our NWEA, our IXL, the skill plans. We are working with that guaranteed and viable curriculum. We work with the TLP team in moving that curriculum forward. There are lots of school-wide academic celebrations. Reading Month right now, we're doing something. So there's always academics going on each and every day. It's a school. In belonging to a learning community, once again, we foster intrinsic motivation to learn. I just share some pictures of you, with you guys for the assemblies. Check out the one up there to the top right of Mr. Grange. The elves put him in the showcase. So there he is, like trapped in the showcase. Yep, got put in there by some elves. We've had there's the senator that came in and read to the kids. The bottom right is Miss Young. I can't say enough about Miss Young, who is an awesome, awesome human being. And she keeps that display case looking just top notch. So we've got constant assemblies, we've got a Bible club, we've got a student council. So it's a really nice learning community.
What you're missing there is the music, because that was huge, having a music program.
Oh, I didn't say it, but that's a picture of it. Yep, so there's
It's
yeah,
huge.
yeah, we've had a couple of very successful music programs, and that is a picture. That's the Christmas program that I was not able to be at, but that's Miss Christian there, and apparently she got up and sang for everyone. So yes, again, a learning community. So for our next steps, the things that we're going to be sort of working on for the future is continuing to use that data, particularly that street data, in order to make those decisions for planning for next year. We're strengthening answers to those PLC questions. So what I would like to see is to continue to have consistent, frequent, robust assessment so that we can see where kids are and we can move those kids into any kind of support that they need. So that's the one of the focuses moving forward. I want to explore with the staff culturally responsive instruction, particularly the work of Zaretta Hammond. We were doing that at the middle school, and this year I didn't want to put too much on them because we were doing other things. But really, I think that this may have some. It holds some promise for all of Romulus, but for Hale Creek Elementary School. So we're going to be looking into that, and then connections beyond the school. I feel like I'm not really good at reaching out and getting people in the community more involved, so we'll be working on that as well. So those are next steps, and with that, that's it. That's my presentation. Thank you. Are there any questions?
Madam President, Vice President, I'm sorry. I have it, apologize. Mr. Parker, you are just, wow.
Oh, thank you.
Like, I just could hear you talk more and more about your school. Like, I mean, I'm a Barth Bear,
Okay.
but I just want to come visit Hale Creek and get a hawk hug, and like, just how you care about your students and your staff is not like you read off of a prompter. Like, you can tell that you really care, and like, that's what you need. You need somebody that's genuine, that's there for the data and all of that, but somebody that cares. So it was a great presentation, and I'll be coming to visit.
All right.
So thank
Yeah. You anytime. Thank you so much.
Board, any other questions? Comments, concerns?
Concerns?
Great job. Okay, next up on the agenda is the consent agenda. Be it resolved that the Board of Education approves the March 11th, 2024 consent agenda as presented. Matters listed under the consent agenda are considered routine in nature by the Board of Education and will be acted upon by one motion. There will be no separate discussion on these items. If any member of the board or any citizen requests discussion of an item, that item will be removed from the consent agenda and will become the first item of business under the report of the superintendent portion of the agenda. A, approval of the minutes of the Board of Education, February 26, 2024, regular board meeting. B, approval of the bills for payment as submitted by Dr. Maria Gistinger in the amount of $2,662,745.67. C, approval of the personnel actions as submitted by Human Resources Director Kevin Brock. Employment, Jalen Tidwell, English Language Arts teacher for the high school. Do I have support?
Support.
Motion by McCarthy, supported by Treasurer Davis.
Madam Chair, I'm requesting the bills for payment be removed from the consent agenda.
Do we have support?
So we don't need support. So if any member of the board requests discussion of an item, that item will be removed from the consent agenda and will become the first item of business under the report of the superintendent.
Got it.
Ready to vote? You want to call the vote?
Yes, I'm sorry. Roll
That's
call
okay.
vote.
So this is for the consent agenda, except for the bills for payment. McCarthy?
Yes.
Davis?
Yes.
Piles, yes. Kennard? Laster?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Do we go directly to action item? Okay. Report of the superintendent, Dr. Benjamin Edmondson.
So what is your concern?
So my questions are, first, I'm sorry?
Oh, no, I said Dr. Gistinger.
Oh.
Depends on what it is.
First, my questions are 1, 2, 3. So we have nine items on here that are bank fees for return checks. So my question is, I guess, why weren't the checks clearing, and do we have, what is the balance in our account? Are we struggling with that?
So there was a batch that kind of got sideways, and that's what caused that issue with us sending the batch out and something went wrong.
Okay, okay. My other question, I know that board members have raised it at the table about the reimbursement for fingerprinting, and we continue to see that, and I know it was requested that we have a policy if we're going to do that, or that we know what the standard is, because some reimbursements are made, but not all. So if we could just get, that doesn't need to be removed, but just get a follow-up on that. The other question I had is check number 230187. It's another payment to, I can't pronounce the name. Is it the architects, Ayersman Architects, in the amount of $4,318.84. I know that another time when they were on the check register, it was asked why we are paying this architecture firm that we were told we were only approving them to use them if and when the board approved the next sinking fund project. So we never got a follow-up with that. So I'd like to know, why are we paying them when the board was told they would not be used until a future point, and how much have we paid them to date, and what is it that they're working on? I know they came and talked to us about Mount Pleasant. Is that what they're working on?
No, I believe they're working on the potential or the possibility of doing a bond issue, that we have to pay somebody to do the bond. What's that? Needs it, thank you. Needs assessment for the bond, for a potential bond.
The architecture firm?
The architecture firm.
Okay, so then what was the payment for Baker Tilly? I thought that was for the needs assessment for the bond. I'm sorry?
Every month? No. I don't know what that is. No, I don't know. That's not my thing.
So was Baker Tilly for the bond? So what was that we paid them for? Okay. And can we get the total amount that's been paid to the architect? And then my last question was, we have bills for payment for DTE that read heat fuel for all of our buildings. And then we have for the same period of time, payments to Constellation New Energy for heat fuel. And I know this has come up multiple times. If we're paying Constellation New Energy for heat, why are we paying it to DTE on some of the same buildings? Because this is a payment for $43,798, and then we also have payments to DTE for heat fuel as well. And I guess those can be answered at another time. It's just
Well, we
that,
spent $17,000 with our architect to date, and as far as how the heat works in our district, I wouldn't know that. If we could get these questions ahead of time, we could do the research so that we would be prepared when the board meeting came.
sure. So the question has been asked about for 2 years or more about this Constellation New Energy and DTE, why we're paying two different companies for heat fuel. So, and then I had just seen the architecture payment on there today, but that was asked, I think, a month ago. And so that question was asked without any follow-up. So just for the record, questions are asked, but when they're not answered, I do ask them again, and that's consistent. My last question is Fifth Media for the video. Not disputing it, just asking who that vendor is and what the video's for.
How do you spell it?
Fifth Media LLC in the amount of $1,600. Just fifth the number.
That's Eugene Wilson. That's the gentleman that does all of our videos to give us, I don't know what you call that, video footage, for lack of a better term, but that's not what it's called. So every time that we have events, he comes out.
Oh,
He's
okay.
encouraged to come out.
So this isn't for our ads, this is for,
No, not for
just
the
somebody
ads. He
who
does
co-
all of
okay.
our
Thank you.
B-roll, that's what they call it.
Okay.
He does all of our B-roll. That's the name of the company.
thank you. That's all the questions I had.
Thank you.
And Secretary Pauls, I just want to confirm, how are you asking questions? Are you submitting it through the SharePoint site or reaching out to someone directly? Because we want to make sure you get these questions answered.
Yeah, I send them sometimes by email. When we get this, I send them through Finance Committee sometimes. I'll ask them at the table if I had just noticed something. But yeah, the Constellation New Energy and the DTE heat fuel, paying two companies for the same buildings, for the same time periods, has been ongoing for a couple years.
Do we still have the site where you can ask questions based on the Google Docs? Trustee Lester, we do? Okay.
We do, and hopefully we can just, never mind.
Say it.
Hopefully we can. Like, I know there was a question asked, and it didn't get to Dr. Edmondson, and it was a Sunday, so I didn't respond, but I wanted to say, like, well, taking accountability for this, because stuff comes to the Finance Committee. He didn't know. So it was like an attack, and I know that there's questions, like, because we were talking about stuff 2 years ago, so we weren't here. But it just, again, like, it's not, because it's all transparent and this stuff can be pulled up, but it's like we just throw our stuff out there like we not on one page when we do stuff like this. And it's nothing against you, Debbie, because you can ask questions. It's just like, maybe can we send a high priority, like, hey, I noticed this, and do it more than it's like we're just not prepared or they're trying to hide something because it's just like how it seems.
Yeah, I can do that, and copy the whole board. I mean, it's just, in the Constellation New Energy, the reason I ask that is because if we're paying heat fuel to two separate entities,
Right.
then it's important that we know that. I'm not blaming anyone, it's just been an ongoing question that because it doesn't get answered, do we just stop asking and
No,
and
don't-
pay
not
and keep
because,
paying
I
rent?
mean,
Or
you're
is
making us aware
DTE
of it, but it's just
Right.
like doing it here, like
Right.
I don't know, maybe we can just try to work on a better. I'll take accountability for finance and say we will do a better job, and I'm speaking for both of us. We have been asking the questions, but sometimes it can be it's a lot. And I get when you look through there and you're like when I asked about the daycare, and I'm like, well, where did this come from? But some of the stuff is just like attack. It seems like it's an attack.
So if we could concentrate our questions to the Google Doc.
Yeah.
We could all see it.
Okay.
And then we would know what was unanswered.
Okay.
So to your point, you've been asking this question for 2 years. It would remain on the list on the Google.
Okay.
Doc if you could put your questions there. Because they come at us from all over the place fast and furious, and answering these questions literally is like a full-time job. And so it's hard to track all of this stuff down. Some stuff will slip through
Right.
the cracks that we don't have a
Okay.
process in place.
And then it will be the support of, hey, like now that you said the heat and like, okay, she's asked this. Can we, but like offline, maybe we can work on that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Board. Thank you, Dr. Gistinger.
Madam Vice President, may I say something?
Yes, ma'am.
I think one of the things we should probably go over in our governance meeting, take a good 5 minutes or so to navigate through the Google Docs, okay? Because I don't think every board member is aware where it's located. I know we were trying to find that link where it could be more user-friendly and have more direct contact in it, so where we can go in. And so I think I would like to make a suggestion that our next governors meeting, that we pull that document up and go through it real quick, so that
would be great.
all the board members, I'll navigate, I'll train you on that if I have to. But, we could do it then, and that'll be more effective, okay?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
So, Madam Chair, I move that the Board of Education approve the bills for payment as submitted by Dr. Maria Gistinger in the amount of $2,662,745.67.
Support.
Motion by Secretary Powell, supported by Trustee Kennard.
Piles, yes. Kennard?
Yes.
Davis?
Yes.
Laster?
Yes.
McCarthy?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Now we are at the report of the superintendent.
Sure, I have a FYI on a steering committee update. I think you all have seen the same emails that I've sent out to everyone. You had roughly, probably close to 30. I think it was close to 30 people. I spoke at the Chamber of Commerce, and by chance, I spoke at the Chamber of Commerce, and I said, I was thrilled that we had to actually turn parents away. Then I listened to what I said, and I'm like, I'm not thrilled about that, but we had a steering committee, and I got more than enough. I mean, it was a really good feeling for me that I don't have to beg parents, I don't have to beg staff to do things to move this district forward. So I was very excited. We had our first meeting. Our next meeting will be sometime next week. We're going to continue to move the district forward. Again, as I remind everyone, and I reminded the Chamber of Commerce when I went to visit, a strategic plan is foolproof. It's foolproof, and it can guard against a superintendent not being there. That is huge. Whether I'm here or someone else is here, you have a strategic plan that will move us for the next 3 to 5 years. I encourage everybody to follow it, hold everybody accountable to it, so that we can move this district forward in 3 to 5 years. We have enough people on that committee that you should be getting back. Again, we only had our first one, but you should be getting back information. Every school, less one, has somebody that can go back to their school and talk to them. I talked to Ms. Camilleri here, who said that she would be gracious enough to write up a report, because when I'm at the steering committee, I want to be a member. I don't want to be the superintendent. I want to be a member like everyone else and give some great ideas. And I will share. In my role as the superintendent, I have a lot of great ideas to move this district forward. I hope that the community's ready for them. And we won't introduce them if we don't have the money, just so that we're clear. Not going to try to put our district in peril. But we have some very good ideas that the district should have had a long time ago. Okay? So just want to let everybody know about the steering committee, and particularly the board. We're moving forward. We have 2 people here, the president, Ursula Wester, and trustee Portia Laster, who are participating on that committee, and they'll give you information as well. Moving right along. I want to thank this gentleman right here. I did it before, but I'm going to thank him because he's here. We have Aaron McCarthy here. I'm not recognizing him because his mother is the volunteer basketball coach, but I've gone to several games this year, and I see him doing the score. He's like the scorekeeper, so I don't really know what he's doing, but I think he's doing statistics at such a young age. I mean, he's there doing it, and we don't recognize kids when they do enough things like that. So I said it publicly in an email, and I want you to hear me say it publicly while you're here, Aaron McCarthy. I want to thank you on behalf of the entire Romulus community for your service to our school district. Maybe your mom makes you, I don't know. I don't know, I would assume, I'm not going to assume that your mom makes you, and I know you're part of the Service Learning Institute. So I want to thank you publicly on behalf of everyone in our community for your service. Keep that up, do not stop, okay? Even when you're an adult, do not stop serving your community. I want to thank our volunteer women's basketball coach, Paris McCarthy. I already addressed her 100th win, but I want to thank you for the coaching spirit that you had. I had an opportunity to see behind the scenes. I've never seen that before, and how you connect with the girls, and they were crying at the loss, and how you embraced them. But you did everything with just class and professionalism, and that's all I would want for our kids to see. And naturally, graciousness of a lady. So I want to thank you for those things, and you had a great year. You know what? She deserves, I'm gonna give you a little something too, because I watched you, I went to your games, spent time there. So I want to thank you for what you've done for our girls program. You've put it on the map, or kept it on the map for 4 years, 52-0 in our league. It's outstanding. We went up against the best team in the state. Did they win? They were the best team I've ever seen, girl, without a doubt. So shout out to our kids too. I wanted to read this because it's important, and it's been an oversight, but there's an oversight for a reason. Lots of it is, frankly, it's about relationships. If I know you and I talk to you, then I get more information out of you. And I understand that I still have a role, and everybody's not comfortable with me because I have the role, but I still ask. I overlooked our our wrestling team. So I want to read what I asked the coach. I said, tell me what's going on with wrestling. And honestly, I don't go to wrestling because they last forever. The meets last forever. I'm like, I just can't. So I apologize in advance to the wrestling team. But I want you to know what was said here. A summary of the 23-24 season. The Romulus wrestling team saw its season end at the individual regional tournament this year, but not before some major accomplishments by the young team. I don't know if I said this is from Coach Dan Hines. I don't know if I said that or not, so I want to say that too, who also serves as our athletic trainer. Damon Brooks finished second place at the Wayne County Championships before adding an individual league title to his resume. Junior Isaiah Ryder, who went 2-22 a season ago, had 20 victories on this season. So let's go back, 2-22 last year to 20 victories on this season. 8 brand-new wrestlers took to the mat for the first time ever. The team was led by our only senior for the class of 2025, Cortland Oliver. Cortland has been a part of the Romulus wrestling team for the past 3 seasons. In that time, he has been a 3-time regional qualifier, 2022 WWAC League runner-up, 2023 and 2024 WWAC League champion, under-16 Greco-Roman state champion, under-16 freestyle state champion, USA Wrestling Junior Greco-Roman state runner-up, 2024 district champion, and 2-time team captain. Cortland carries a 3.8 GPA and is in the top 15 in his class. He has attained academic all-state honors in both football and wrestling. Cortland has decided to enlist in the United States Marine Corps, where he will be trained in aeronautical engineering upon graduation. Thank you to all who support our program, and keep an eye close on the Eagles as we return 8 seniors next season with a host of incoming freshmen.
Wow.
So, thanks to our great team. I didn't say that enough, and again, I apologize. As much as I can get from our coaches, I will read them, and I will push our community. I will say publicly, because I did not respond, I still was not pleased with the crowd that we had at the girls' basketball game, but it was a start. But that's an issue that we have just in general. A whole lot of people in the country, we're fighting against social media and every other distraction. So we did well, but it still didn't meet my expectation, but I'm going to say that. but it was a great event going to that, so I just want to continue. Just a couple of things, and then I will finish. Central office, we asked, did the board want to bowl against us? You don't. I understand that. My next one will be Metro Charter. I'm going to go ask them, do they want to take on our board, our board, our central office team? For you to know, the central office team, the front is against the back on Thursday. You're more than welcome to come because it's going to be tremendous energy. So it's Mr. Perkins and his staff versus, I guess, not mine, I would say Sarah Good and Adam Dennison and their crew. So it's going to be a wonderful event. And I will.
I will come, but I gotta roll the ball like this
That's all
because
right.
I'm not breaking the nail for bowling.
Right?
So I'll do like this, but I
Listen.
don't want to mess your points up. See?
Well, I'm going to say, we have Dr. Gardner who comes and she brings a pom-pom. That's all, she doesn't bowl, she's like, yay. And it means a lot. But I will say this to our community. That bowling event has really brought our community together, our school community, and definitely in this building. I mean, we're all tight in this building, but it's so fun to see 8 other people that we don't know so well. We don't interact with them that much. But to go back and forth, and it's just fun. So we take on anybody, okay? I took on city council when I went there last Monday. I said, city council, you're next. Get your 8 against our 8. But it's fun, and I encourage you as a board, you know, if we want to do it, I mean, you need to do something outside of what we're doing. Kickball? Yeah, kickball. Okay.
Kickball?
Yeah, sure. Darcel wants to do
Dodgeball,
chess or
doodle.
something. I don't know. We'll work on it. So I just want to say that again. This is all about, for me, you know, the culture and climate and the morale of your district is set with the superintendent. Whether it's good or bad, it rests with the superintendent. So I always work hard on that, and I'm always going to put myself out there, and I don't mind losing. People say, oh, yeah, I don't mind. I don't care, but I'm going to talk trash the entire time.
Yep.
Okay? Win, lose, or draw, I'm there to talk trash. So I just want that to go. Another thing that I'm going to read, I had a relationship with a young man. I met him when he was a 3rd grader, and I was impressed. He was at Rom L, 3rd grade, Antonio Walker. I didn't know him. I just walked into the room, and I was so impressed. And that was 3 years ago. I think he was in the 3rd grade, maybe 4th. Was it 3rd or 4th? I don't know. 3rd. But I wrote, and I had said it at a board meeting. I sent a card, a handwritten card to him, and said how impressed I was. I felt like he could run that school, or definitely his class. I've still had this relationship with this young man. So I challenged him and his buddy. I didn't care who it was, because I'm going to talk trash no matter what. So I encouraged him to get whatever buddy he wanted. And this was at lunchtime, and I ran into him, and I said, if you can get on that stage in the middle school, I'll give you whatever you guys want to eat. I'll take you out I'll get you what I don't care. And I said, but if you lose, you 2 guys got to get me. And I said, I'm relentless. I will pay up if I lose, and if you lose, you're going to pay up, okay? But I told him, I want to lose. I want to lose. I want to be able to get you guys that stuff. I want to see you on the stage. Well, by chance, I came there for their meeting, for the ceremony, and I saw he and his grandfather leaving. Okay, I'm about to walk in the ceremony. It's about to start. I see he and his grandfather leaving. Oh, what did I just tell you? Never gonna miss an opportunity to talk trash. So I rolled down my window. I said, oh, what are you doing here? We're supposed to be going inside. Why are you coming outside? Well, Dr. E, I said, you owe me, don't you? He did. So I just wanted to say that I got a card today, and it says, a bet's a bet. I'll do better in the 8th grade. And you'll be buying me dinner. Sincerely,
go.
Antonio. And he did give me a gift card. I don't go to Texas Roadhouse, but you know, it's all good. It's all good. It's all good. Yeah, it is. I know it's his money. You all have told me, but these are the things that I think are important to kids, that they feel like somebody cares about them. And if it's their superintendent, so be it. And I've had a relationship with this kid. I don't even know him that well. I've never been to your house or anything. I just see him. I like him. And I like how you all have raised him. And I'm going to encourage you to keep doing what you're doing by him. He doesn't have to be a straight A kid. Okay, the fact that he did this, he's conscientious and he cares. So I want to thank you, and I will thank him for that too. Okay. He looks up to you. Okay, well, whew. Well, I appreciate it. I'm coming to a conclusion here. I visited student council again today. I will be meeting with student council in the middle school. The board needs to know. I just got a letter, 2 letters from the state, but I'm only going to share one right now. I'm going to share the better one right now. We have to draw down $350,000 in our cafeteria fund by June 30th. So I'm excited. That's why I had Verco here, okay? We're going to do school furniture for sure, And we're going to do some other things because we have to draw down the money. And I'm excited, but it's going to be student-led. So initially, when I met with them today, I figured maybe $100,000 to the high school, $50,000 to the middle school, 25, 25, 25, 25, and 25 for all of our other schools, for them to start, like Mr. Parker can decide, but it has to be cafeteria-related. So it could be furniture, it could be some other things. But that's what we're going to do. We're going to draw down that money because we have to, and we're going to spend it on kids and the cafeteria. So I'm very excited about that. That'll be coming, and it needs to be coming from student voices, okay? But if it's silly, we don't do it, okay? Like, bring in Boo Boo the Clown. No, we're not doing that, okay? I'm just saying, so we want to make certain that that happens. Just want the board to know that it's coming. I have to spend it, okay? So it's coming. I brought Verco in. I found another furniture company who's going to give us a quote too. We're going to move forward, and we're going to do it with the help of our Chartwell friends. They're going to help us write that up. Got that? And thank you to the policy committee today. Thank you. Moving us forward in terms of grade retention. Appreciate that. And last but not least, on Saturday, I got up in the morning and I drove to Grosse Pointe, and I was part of the Michigan Association of Middle School Educators Conference. We had a presentation, and I was part of the presentation. It was remarkable, not because I was part of the presentation. It was remarkable because we presented on middle school culture and how to move a school forward. So now I will tell you who was on that committee. They worked extremely hard, and I was just a part. I just got to speak about the vision, and I was able to talk about if you don't have support of your superintendent, what won't happen if you don't get the support. But we had Miss Akua Marshall, who was from the TLP team. We had Miss Kathleen Forrest from the middle school. We had Jason Wesley from the middle school. We had Michael White from the middle school and high school, and we had me. And we talked about, there was tremendous energy in that room about what it takes to move a school forward from the beginning. And it starts with your vision and your mission. And then once you get your vision and mission, you can move forward. We know that if you have a plan, you can move it forward, but there are some things that have to happen for that plan to work. And some of it is personality driven, and most of it is accountability driven. So it was a wonderful conference. It was a wonderful session. And again, not because I only spoke for 2 seconds, believe it or not. And then we had this presentation, and the goal is that we can present it to our own staff. Because what I said is, everybody knows that the middle school was in transformation. We all know that. It was very, very intentional, and we were able to get everything that we wanted because it was intentional and we had a plan. So probably next year we will present this to you all, those that want to come, but you know, it was very, very impressive, and I'm very pleased with the culture and climate of our schools. We're not perfect. We're not there. We haven't arrived either, not at all. But we're getting there, and we have a plan, and we're going to continue to get there. So I just want to thank everybody for their support, particularly the board. Thank you. This was a wonderful board meeting thus far. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Edmondson. Next on our agenda, report of the Finance Department. Dr. Maria Gistinger.
Good evening, Board. You have in your packet the February financial statements. So I'm just going to take a minute to walk you through those. We currently have collected about 100% of our local sources. The reason for that is because we have 100% summer tax collection. We've collected about half of our state aid because even though we are a little further than halfway through the year, we collect our state aid in July and August as well. Federal sources, we're right about where we need to be at this time of year. And then our inter-district revenue, we're at almost 100% of that as well because we collect that earlier in the year. And then as far as our spending, we are on track with the board's amended budget that you just approved in January. And as Dr. Edmondson said, we are finished with our projected budget for 24-25. We'll be bringing that to you again shortly. And so are there any questions about the February financials from the board?
Madam Vice. For clarification, what is exactly in the interdistrict revenue?
A lot of that is our PA-18 money that we get from RISA.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Gistinger. Next on the agenda, report of board subcommittees.
The Finance Subcommittee had a meeting on the 7th, and it was just like a refresher to lay the ground of what we're going to be doing, the calendar. I know, Debbie, you sent out the superintendent calendar. Dr. Gistinger was talking about the finance calendar, so she would get that to us so we can go over. Getting started early, just to piggyback off what you said, so we'll have a presentation coming sooner than later. I know that'll cool some jets around here. And that we'll be building the budget, like almost just taking everything out, putting everything back in, starting fresh like a Tetris game. So that's kind of, it was just a kumbaya, answering some questions, and just hoping to collaboratively work together. So that's it from the finance on my end. I don't know if you want to say anything, Judy.
No? You covered it.
That's zero-based budget. So we did zero-based budget with Dr. Gistinger. She used her expertise and allowed us to, give our vision and stay within the budget parameters, Dr. Gistinger, Mr. Graham, and my cabinet. So we worked on that, and I'm thrilled. I'm absolutely thrilled. And I actually understand codes now, the numbers. Function 221.
And the thing is the Great Star Readiness Program people that are written into the grant. Okay, thank you.
The policy committee met today. One of the things on our agenda is a possible retention policy for students. This policy will be data-driven and research-based. It will require parent support and involvement in order to make it successful. There are a couple other items that we will need to add to this potential policy. So our next meeting will be March 18th, 2024 at 4:30 p.m. That is all I have for my policy update.
The sinking fund committee did meet. Jason, he's here. Okay. And we met, and we just had an overall conversation in relating to what projects were on the table, general questions that Jason's going to be coming eventually to the board about, some potential things as it relates to what he's observed or want to say pertaining to the sinking fund. We know that we have projects for the 24 year on hold because of the board. We made a decision and what that impact may mean moving forward as we plan for the next fiscal year. Is that correct? Yes. Okay, thank you.
Ms. Kennard, so are we on track to resume sinking fund projects summer of 2024?
Those that were already on the books, as I recall, are still moving forward. There are no new initiatives, is what they're saying.
Okay, but that freeze will be lifted still summer of 2024? We're
Well,
hoping?
we're hoping.
I'm sorry?
July
Okay,
1.
yeah, thank you.
I heard you say we're hoping, and that's accurate because
We're hoping it depends on the budget. I
you
mean,
got
it depends.
that,
We
right,
can't,
stuff.
the closer we get to it, then we'll know.
People sending in bills and stuff. You're like, where did that come from?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
There's been a little bit of that in the last month. Like, where did that
Yeah.
coup? And I think that's partly. I mean, we have a new director of operations. It has nothing to do with him. He's learning. He sits there and then a bill shows up. Like, where did that come from? He says it to me. I'm like, where did that come from? Because we don't know.
Yeah, and that's why I
so some
said-
things are trickling in, and where did that come from?
Where did that come from?
So
No.
Jason will be coming, we'll have more in-depth conversation as things materialize. I'll just put it to you like that. We'll be coming back to, because we have another meeting scheduled next month, and we'll have more to.
I would like to say this is, I don't know if this fits in necessarily with the sinking fund. I know we had a conversation about it and may not be, I don't know. But I said it again, Mount Pleasant has to come down. It has to be a huge priority for the district and the community that that building comes down. We already have enough problems with Merriman. As you know, we don't need to discuss that now, but
Yeah,
I
we
mean,
did
we're still
have-
moving forward with that,
Yeah.
but just, you leave buildings dilapidated, or you leave them, then it becomes a problem. It becomes an eyesore to the community. But for us, even with Merriman, like people breaking into it, and we got to go back out. You got to get a company to. It's a hassle. But so I'm just asking the board just to remember, and particularly if you lived in that neighborhood, you wouldn't want to see that building there. It needs to come down if we have the allocations to do it.
Yeah, and that was part of the conversation in terms of Merriman as well. Yeah.
Is the buyer still interested in Merriman?
Yes, they are. We have it with our attorney right now. They passed the date. We're supposed to go into closing in April, but there was a lot of vandalism, like professional vandalism, professional. So they feel that we need to pay, and we're like, no, that's not what the contract says. So just waiting to hear back. Our attorney is talking to their person now, but it's a lot of damage. Like, somebody knows what's going on. I'll just say that. Somebody knows what's going on. For what was done, you had to know that. You have to know that. You have to have some information. I'm not saying it was inside. I'm just saying a lot of things were taken. Yes. Oh, absolutely.
Wow. So,
Yeah, wow. We have an answer, but I'm not going to talk about it on camera. We have a response.
yeah, it's in the hands of legal.
Board, any other comments, reports? Okay, moving along. Communication from the board. Treasurer Darcel Davis,
No, thanks, I'm good.
Secretary Powles.
Just want to thank Mr. Parker for coming in for his presentation tonight. We've seen big changes for the good since he moved over there, and a lot of students really responding to him well, and staff. So looking forward to more great things out of Hill Creek.
Very good. Trustee Kennard.
Now, just overall, thank all those who came before us with the information. It's very informative and very enlightening to know and to see that when we say that all of our students deserve a quality education, that we're reaching beyond the parameters and reaching beyond and being very creative in doing that. And so for the grant administration and bringing that information to us and understanding what it's all about in terms of layman terms, because that's one area where, particularly when it comes to finance and grants and administration, where, those things, most people are not aware of those tasks and what it involves. And so overall, I'd like to also note, I noted here that one of the programs that Mr. Parker spoke on is with the, when the kids input in the street data. So I'm going to go out there and say street data when I'm talking, because they'll be aware. I think that's a good outreach and a good practice. Will go a long distance. And so thank you all for all the information that individuals who came before us, and even those who spoke. Thank you for coming and bringing awareness to the district and where we are and where we're going.
Thank you, Trustee Kennard. Trustee Laster.
Thank you, everyone, for coming. Thanking Mr. Parker again for the great presentation and the genuineness that he has about him. You can tell he cares about his staff and students. I just want to vow to help be a vessel that we can get some type of the Google working, where we don't have to come back to, because everybody's voice should be heard, everybody's question should be asked. Debbie, you do raise great questions, so it was like no shade, and I was trying to verbalize, but it's just like, if we can come on one accord where we are doing some type of, we just are working collectively and using the assets that we have and the resources, and we do it before we get to the table. So that's really what I was just trying to say. I also wanted to thank Dr. Gistinger, Eve, the cabinet, the parents for coming out. And I know I've thanked you to your face on the phone, on Facebook, but people don't know how hard you work. They may think they know, like I always be like, you, Beyonce and Oprah, I don't know how y'all do it, but you put in a lot of work and you don't just say it, you do it. Your mantra, like how you do small things is how you do all things. Like you live by that and you handle whether it's winning, defeat with class. And I learn from you every day and it's a pleasure to serve with you and you do so much for our girls. And wherever you go, whatever you do, I don't know if it's another season, I don't know where God is going to take you, but the marathon continues.
Thank you, Trustee Lasser. Wow, thank you. Eagle Nation, thank you so much for all that you've done, all of your support, and just continuing to grind it out and pound the stone. Special shout out to everyone who is here tonight, especially members of the community who show up to every board meeting. I appreciate you and your diligence. I also want to thank my fellow board members for a great meeting today. I also thank you for your patience as I chaired the meeting, and I do appreciate your coaching and your guidance. Dr. Edmondson, thank you for all that you do. Thank you for rallying behind my basketball team and the support and getting more people out to our basketball games. Believe it or not, that was one of the largest crowds that we've played in front of.
Wow.
So I truly appreciate you. Women's basketball doesn't get its just due because we can't dunk. But I do appreciate you for getting the community involved. And I'm very appreciative despite the results that we had in the district semifinal. I wanted nothing more but to bring home some new hardware for our school. But Father Gabriel Richard, they just, honestly, they were lights out. They didn't make any mistakes.
Wow.
And as hard as we work, it was just a testament to how much harder we have to work moving forward. I want to thank Principal Chris Parker and the Hill Creek Hawks for their amazing presentation and using data to drive both instruction and culture. Without data to support, we're just talking about how we feel and what we should be doing, but data truly drives that. And I do want to give a special shout out to our TLP team. Am I saying that right? TLP team for also driving that. Lastly, thank you to my son, Aaron McCarthy, for wanting to attend the board meeting. When I told him I was on my way to the board meeting, he put his coat on and said he was coming. So I can appreciate that. You are an amazing son, always looking to help. He has a see a need, feel a need spirit, and I can't say enough about him. Every morning, I do not ask him to do this, but he starts my car for me. Day in and day out, he took my basketball bag and put it in my trunk. I heard you talk about opportunity meeting preparation. Our scorebook person got ill in the middle of the season, and I'm like, what are we gonna do? Like, I need somebody seasoned to do the book, and he volunteered to do it, and from that moment on, he never gave it up. Even when teachers tried to do the book or a person came back, he said, no, I got it. No, you not. It was almost like a tug of war thing. He's like, you not doing the book. I'm doing my mom's book.
Funny.
So I appreciate you for doing that, Aaron. Keep up the amazing work. Like I told you earlier today, in about 20 years, we're going to need you to run for school board. So take notes. That's all that I have. Turning it over to the amazing Dr. Edmondson.
You're funny. Thank you. It was an honor to talk to the girls' basketball team there. But it is true, when preparation meets opportunity, you seize it. And that's how I feel about me, that, I was prepared and I was given this opportunity and I tried the best that I possibly could. And I will continue to do that. And I will continue to tell people, when you are prepared and your opportunity comes, you should be ready, okay, because you prepared. So just to the cabinet, you all know, I have a blast here. I just appreciate the confidence that I have in you. And we all talk about how we're not perfect. We're not. We know that. But, we have not even had a chance to look back and see how far we've moved the district since last February. Huge. And I won't let anybody say anything but that. Okay, we're not perfect, but we've moved the district forward in a short amount of time, and we haven't had an opportunity to breathe. Maybe we can do that in the summer. I don't know. But it's an honor to work with you. I love coming to work. Just like Mary Randazzo said, she was on vacation and she said, I miss you all. Like, I miss it here. And I think we all feel that way. We miss it when we're here. I want to thank the board, too. I know it's hard being a board member. You know, it just is. I just appreciate it. I appreciate the opportunity to work with you, and I thank you for giving me this opportunity. So, and to everybody else, have a great day. 7:32. That's exciting.
It is.
Wherever you want. You're going to get the beat down. Oh, I'm sorry. You get a beat down wherever you
Motion to adjourn.
Support.
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion
7:30.
carries.